You are at war with yourself and likely don't realize it. Your thoughts, beliefs, habits, and actions often sabotage you. Are they helping you overcome adversity or setting you up for failure? To win this battle, you must connect with your inner warrior. We all have a warrior within us, one that strengthens our resolve and helps us to rise to meet life's challenges. If you're just surviving rather than thriving, then it's time to embrace the warrior archetype, live the warrior ethos, and ascend. If you are a veteran, first responder, or someone looking to take charge of your life, find your tribe, and then be the hero of your own story, this podcast is for you. Join Mike Kinney and Matt Hastings, two retired U.S. Army officers who served in U.S. Army Special Operations and Army Aviation units, as they share with you optimal performance practices they learned in their time with the Military and Warriors Ascent, a 501c3 nonprofit that helps veterans and warriors with PTS.
Well, all right, everyone, welcome to the Warriors Ascent podcast with your hosts, Mike and Matt. We've got Patrick Benson back with us again, and as we spoke about in the last episode, we're kind of delve more into, I'll say, the high performance aspects of what he's done with War Horses for SOF, War Horses Elite. So boom, there we are. And now I think he's, I know he's even moved beyond that, and he's doing even more high speed stuff. So I'll say the story arc for this particular episode, we'll talk, War Horses and beyond, the very elite focus, why that's appealing to Patrick, and how that's driven, I'll say, even higher, loftier ambitions, which I'm very excited for him to speak about. So please take it away, brother.
Yeah. Thank you again.
Absolutely.
So appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's always good to be in good company and then talk about things you're passionate about.
Yes, indeed.
Then always segues that get pulled. But as we spoke about before, the journey to really what became War Horses for Veterans, we launched, that was in 2015, the first vets came through that. And obviously, like anything you start, you're just pulling, you're learning, and you start pretty raw. The Browns were generous enough to believe in a vision and an idea. That's something I've been pacing the house for quite some time and would run through clients' ears all the time about the impact of what, we're needing as mentors, as opportunity. One of the things was like when we leave, not everyone has things as put together for careers and things like that. And that's still an issue today. Like that hasn't changed. I think it's gotten better. But we joked with some other SF guys, and I said, so your transition programs, I said, quite designed for corporate America, huh? And they were like, oh gosh, yeah. And I think there's a place for everyone. But I think knowing your demographic and who you are and what fits with you and what's the best path, and that's what kind of led us towards, in 2019, the launch of the SOF program. So Special Operation Forces, a gentleman out of the Northwest, out of First Group, was one of the ones that came through as well. And having friends, and I think a lot of it comes down to is the mindset aspect. But I always thought of War Horses when developing it, like wanting to push the envelope. It's always kind of like the way I think me personally I'm wired, but other friends and other people, it's like, well, how can we do this? How can we go more with this? How uncomfortable can we get with this and then get comfortable and find that other side of things? And there's always that element, like with horses, never to be limited on what you can and can't do. It's like I said, it's a tool. It's a very effective tool. It's a foundation piece, but there's many things that affect and impact the human body and the human mind. And one of the things in 2018 really dawned on me pretty aggressively was like, hey, as a community, we're really unhealthy. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, there's a lot of things we're struggling with. And as that progressed, even to this day, but how do we create a culture of like, not just doing like a basic nutrition or just doing a basic course? Not that it's not important, but how can we do this on a level that pro athletes, very, high-end execs that could afford it, but like that type of attention and care and authenticity and quality can be applied to the service members that deserve it too. Let's be honest, it's not to say everyone needs an aspect of it, but I think if you're going to start, like you need to be serious about committing to yourself. Even if you're at the bottom of the hole, like you have hope to move forward, you just don't know how to move that foot. But I think too is like it's who you surround yourself with. So it's like breaching or anything, like you're stacking or you're going after a target. You don't do it alone. So pick your team, pick the best people around you possible. Be willing to ask for help and put yourself in that position to be open, because that's kind of hard for some of us, and especially with some of the backgrounds.
Right.
And what I loved about what we found with working in the soft community was something my wife mentioned to me the very first program we ran. Every one of those guys are senior, they've operated at the highest level. Every one of them came up to my wife and thanked her for her sacrifice and her time, knowing what her husband's always gone and always doing these things, and was incredibly appreciative of it. Out of all the years of doing it, no one had ever gone to her or no one said anything like that. Not that they needed to, but she noticed like there's something different about this. And she understand like some of my friends and stuff were kind of wired similar. And so for me, I felt like, hey, I didn't feel, for me personally, it was kind of like with your own people or like-minded individuals, and you're not the crazy one in the room, I guess you would say. Right. But the thing is that they're incredibly intelligent and everyone brings in value in all aspects. But I was just like the way they function at the level. And I was saying, well, hey, if this can work here at this group and this demographic, because there's one thing you will get is brutal honesty. Because if it sucks, they're going to let you know, and they're going to break it all down and make you feel like it's up to you. It's you're allowing yourself to feel that. They're just giving you what the feedback is.
Right.
And we became quite successful, and it worked really well. And we were able to dive in. And I like to play with things. I like to think of a lab and you're incubating. Like, what can we do better? What can we look at? Like, how can we push this? What books do I need? And I'm always asking these questions. And I'm curious on what they did, because they're being taxed when you spend enough time with each other. These individuals you're finding out are being taxed and pushed longer and harder than anybody else in the armed forces. And I've learned over time too is, they may be a part of a community that, like my cousin says, they're all special until we get out. But at the same token, there is resources for it, but there's really not as many resources as you think for that community as well, in the support aspect of things. And I think too,
there's something to be said about that.
Yeah, it was blew me away.
Because, I think any military guy will say, "Oh, hey, I missed that. I miss it. And there's, an abundance of, I'll say an abundance of resources for, hey, people that have been in the military, veterans that need help. But,
100%.
Your tribe, your group, the special operators, that's a little harder to come by.
Well, and just like anything, and I felt like this way in aviation too, is you're in the military, you're already in a 1% population of the United States. Mm-hmm. Then you get into that 1%, and then there's even smaller subsections like SF guys. You're a 1% of the 1%.
Or 1/60th.
Same. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't 1/60th, but the same idea.
Aviation.
Yeah, as same aviation. I mean, we went hard, and same idea. Only a small percentage made it into it. So, I think that makes a lot of sense that there's a more of a target towards.
No, so what's interesting about what Patrick I think is tapped into, not to take up too much of the conversation, but we do what we do and we do it well. But I think there's an allure of the horses. It's very manly. I think it's very appealing to the soft community. And as a former special operator, someone's like, "Hey man, are you hurt? You might need some therapy." And you're like, "Yeah, no, we're good. But you're like, "Hey man, I hear working with horses can be very therapeutic." Now that's cool, man.
Yeah, I can.
And I'm not poo-pooing it. I mean, that's what we do. And people that come to us, and as you know, we've 75th Ranger Regiment guys, a variety of people that have come and said, "Hey, this is exceedingly helpful." But what I will say is, I think there's just I'll call it polarity. There's more polarity of the special operations community heading towards the horsemanship angle or horsemanship as a vehicle for therapy, right? Because it does. I think it resonates and it appeals with that horse soldier aspect.
Well, and I think
that we talked about before.
Hurt your cause.
And the grit of it too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of grit, and I think like anything, it's just like you know, you can come in, and I always liked is like, I don't think you can do that. And I'd walk off, and they're like, okay,
Dudes are like, I'll show you.
game on, let's go. Well, hey, show me how to do this first, and then I'm going to do this. But no, 100%. I mean, like I said, it's a gateway to things. Like if you can break the ice, because think about it, if you have success there, my opinion is if you have success at this level, what could you do and what can you take from this and trickle it down into other areas and say, hey, and make it palatable, you know, in some aspects.
What do you do like when clients want to come? What's kind of the physical requirement in terms of maybe I'm hurting a little bit from my service?
That's just basically going to be catered down to the abilities. I mean, we've had individuals with prosthetics.
Yeah.
But that person was incredibly fit and took care of himself. But if like at the same token, you know, if you're excessively overweight, probably not going to put you on a lot of our horses. And it's safe. It's hard on the horse, and it's going to be hard on you. And there's balance aspects. But like for instance, as I move forward, and I'm grateful for everything, and then the brainchild and design of war horses. But it's like we need to, like, I felt like, hey, we really need to be diving into like, how do we really move the needle here? Right. So if you know, if you're hurting, why are you hurting? What answers have you gotten? Have you not gotten? If it's not saying the VA, but it's just in general. Let's just talk about the medical aspect of it
to better yourself.
Yeah, and I think too is like, what are you willing to give up, and what are you willing to change to actually be successful? And it's up to you. It doesn't matter what you guys do at the program. You provide all these awesome resources, and you actually expose them to it. Now, you can't be there at their house. You can't be there. And it's up to them to call you too. That's one thing, even dealing with the soft community is like, hey, learn to tap into these resources. Use it, call them, bug them, because that's what they're there for.
Now I was having that conversation with Carrie today. Exactly. It's like, hey, I'm kind of hurt. And it's like, here are all the things that we have available. And you know, you can explain it, and then it's almost like you got to take people by the hand sometimes. You know, and it can be difficult in terms of having people avail themselves of what's, you know, of the resources that are available.
We know that there's an abundance of people that need these services, and they're just not standing up. Even whether it's one that you're just going to sit in a classroom and do yoga, or one where you're going to really work hard with an animal that's 1,200 pounds. And
well, the thing is, like, even like you brought up yoga, like, and then we'll dive into what the elite program really is and all aspects of it. If we're going to do yoga, great. Let's do the introduction of it. And then let's push the envelope on this. Let's, like, seriously, like, you could break someone trying to touch your toes and hold a downward dog for a certain amount of time, because you haven't worked those muscles, or you're not breathing right, or using your core, engaging. Because if you engage a certain way and breathe a certain way, well, then that actually takes a load off, and you can actually find a place of presence, and you can actually hold it longer. But at the same token, I'm having you do something that you may feel very uncomfortable or feel stupid doing, but that's only in your own damn head. No one else could care less about it.
That was my experience.
And that was cool. Yeah. Like, you know, it was really neat. We've done like yoga, we've done Pilates and workouts, stuff like that. There hasn't been one guy before that they were like, yeah, we're all about it. And I will tell you this right now, if you don't do mobility work and some type of work, especially if we're going to be doing as in-depth stuff with horses, you are going to be using muscles and parts of your body that you have not engaged ever. Right. And you will feel it very fast.
Oh man, horses.
And ice baths, and I've been doing that for years. And doing things that are hard together, just where it kind of goes back into like forging those relationships. Yes. And it could be whatever, but at the same time, hard is relative to whatever you're approaching. It could be public speaking, like they talk about, or even just sitting down and actually discussing something that's frankly quite uncomfortable, and you don't want to be seen as weak. But the next thing you know, you're doing a 50-mile run with Dave, you know.
Dave Bellis.
Yeah, so little shout out to him.
Yeah.
But those things are important. So that's where like the evolution of things is, we've had success here, but the horses are vital, but are we addressing the whole person? And so going back to that, as you see progression from 2018 to now and for the next 20, 30, 40 years, it's going to be, well, how do you address the whole person? How can we do it in a way that we're not seeing it done? And how can we work together, like organizations and all of us working together to where we invest in each other and invest in your team so you can enrich your companies, so then you can have that compound effect. Because it's influence, man. It's culture. So, others will say, oh, I don't want to be a gym rat, or I don't want to do whatever. And it's like, well, I'm not asking you to. I was like, people used to tell me, like, I don't want a performance horse. I'm like, yeah, you do. They think high-end performance fancy horse. No, you want a better performing trail horse. You want a better performing anything.
Right.
So So the conversation that we've had, in the past, where you're talking, hey, let's take performance to the next level. I mean, what occurs to me, kind of, putting it together, is the horsemanship, working with horses. That's kind of like, again, a vehicle in which to do some of this stuff. And 100%. It's just like, hey, listen, if you want to test yourself, if you want to test your operational parameters against that horse, hey, that's probably a pretty good test of your skills.
Measurement,
but the other stuff that we were talking about, and I think some of the directions that you're going are the diagnostics. I mean, it's one thing to shoot in the blind and say, well, hey, you need to be in better shape, or you need to eat better, or there's a whole bunch of things that you could do to perform at a better level. But how about like a gap? How about a gap analysis? Like, where are you deficient? What needs being, what, like Thor 3 program and Special Forces, and Dave was dealing with that as well, which is, all right, how do you address asymmetries and imbalances and injuries and all of these things? Like, they'll say, I mean, I had shoulder surgery, and the physical therapist is like, oh, you 18 series guys, SF guys, you're kind of stronger in here from carrying that ruck, but your rear deltoid, in the back is not. It's usually underdeveloped. And I'm like, okay, maybe you're right. And she's like, yeah, which is why you guys have so many shoulder injuries. Now, as if somebody pointed out and said, hey, you've got some muscle imbalances that are, I'll call it sports specific. Hey, you've got the ruck muscles and, and all of that, but it's going to come back to haunt you in your later years because those muscle asymmetries are imbalanced, and you're going to get, a labrum tear, a variety of things. If you address it now or early on, you'll be a better performing athlete or operator or just human being in the future. And I think those are some of the things that you were talking about in our conversations, where it's like, hey, let's bring that, everything from blood panels to functional movement screens to imagery.
So you're bringing in data, real data,
deep
all
dive.
of the data, so that now you're, rather than just, oh, here's a good workout regimen, it's like, oh no, this is one and nutrition tailored specifically to you. So
and you're going out. Are you going outside of the normal doctor parameters? So like, I want to see what my testosterone is. I want to see stuff that my regular doc isn't going to let me do.
Yeah, 100%. You're going to have basically what a professional athlete would get to function at the highest level and and perform and have longevity in that career. Well, isn't that what we're wanting out of life? I mean, you got to think about it. Like, what do we want in the long game? Because forget about what you did. Where are you at now? Where you want to be? How do you want to be playing in your 50s, 60s, 70s with kids, family, active? Like, I don't want to be. No offense, I don't want to be sitting in a cafe hardly doing. I want to be moving. I mean,
trust me, you do.
It's more. Everyone fixates on longevity, when in fact it's like, how about quality. Add quality to the quantity. If you're living in the 80s or 90s and you're a fat ball of goo, or not even that, but you just can't move, or you can't. I mean, what kind of quality of life is nothing. That? So I'll say, not fixate, but focus on, all right, hey, what is good quality of life? But I think to everyone's point here, it's just like, I think about that a lot too. It's just like, okay, diet, I'm getting older. I'm hovering in the 180s. I want to get down to the 170s. It's so friggin' hard, man. I'm doing the right things. It'd be nice if somebody could say, okay, hey, listen, we're going to do a diagnostic, blood panels, metabolic screen, whatever. Right. Here's the diet that you need. And that'll because it's all a shot in the dark, man. I won't say it's all a shot in the dark, but so much of it is, especially as you age and you're different, the things that used to work for me as a younger man no longer work. No. And it's not that they don't work at all, but it's just like the workout regimen that I would abide by that would get me results, they ain't doing it. The diet, same thing. And now I've got injuries and things that I've never had to contend with before. And the conversations you and I had is like, why guess? Why not do a diagnostic that will tell you specifically, this is what you need to do, both dietarily, rehabilitative, and then working, workouts, both strength development, mobility energy system development, cardio, that if you do this, you're going to reach your full potential.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's where like actually yesterday I was talking with a retired GB about it, and he says like from going through that program, his go-to person is like, thank goodness for Dr. Erickson and I meeting. He was with Elite Physicals. He's the head physician for Sporting KC.
Okay.
And he developed basically we did for athletes, but we can customize to this. And then even now, had a great meeting a week and a half ago with diving into the TBI side of things, because 99.9% of everyone we serve has a TBI.
Traumatic brain injury.
Right.
And a lot of the
getting blown up.
I mean, shoot, I remember going through one of her courses, and even with mine, I was like, oh, that was hard. And she looked at me and she's like, and understanding what's going on, the brain's complex,
right,
with the nervous system, everything. But if your body's hurting, or you don't understand things, or you're having brain fog, well, then clean your diet up. Well, what does that actually mean? What's your gut biome like? So if you say you need to eat these healthy foods, well, what if I give you the wrong healthy foods because it's not what your gut
for me? Exactly.
No, but you touched on something else. Another great point is so many people are like so siloed. It's like, okay, hey, workouts are all geared towards physical performance. I mean, yes, but it also cognitive, emotional. I mean, which is the endorphins, your endocrine system, all of it. You touched on diet, everything. Well, diet is, energy and body composition. No, it's mood. It's same thing. You eat a carb-heavy diet and you're just like, I can't even think. I'm ready to go to bed. Versus a good, clean meal. You feel sharp. And that's the thing. I mean, my wife's a doc. She was like, I hear intermittent fasting is getting a bad rap now. It's like, who do you believe?
I know, really. Some
people swear by intermittent fasting. Then other literature is like, nah, it causes cancer or something crazy, and then some people say you should be at somewhat of a caloric deficit, not only for weight loss, but because and I've been there. It's like when you're a little bit hungry, you're sharper. You're like, versus if you're over satiated, you're like, I'm ready to go to sleep.
Well, I mean,
what is the optimal, prescription?
They did the studies on that, like in Kenya and the hunters. Right. I mean, you can go in 6-7 days without eating, but they're so hyper focused. Like they can see and hear, all their senses are just heightened, and their energy levels are through the roof.
And that's another thing, ketosis and stuff that they talk. But they'll say that's horrible for you.
Another thing that I see a lot is guys that have been and people that have been, adrenal fatigue.
Yeah.
And you've just been in that hypervigilant state, and in that, what is it called? The run or kill or whatever.
Oh, fight or flight.
You're kind of in that vigilant space, and that stuff sort of starts petering out on you, and burns up internal stuff, endocrinologist. You talked about that.
I mean, that adrenal fatigue, I think, is
hypothalamus.
Again, I'm not an endocrinologist, but that's a thing. It's like when you're in a heightened state of arousal constantly, when that's your steady state. Oof. You can't go on like that without having,
you're going to have issues.
A deleterious effect on your nervous system. You're not made to be, at that heightened state.
No, exactly.
I think if like anything too is like, it comes down to education as well. And like who do you educate? So you narrow it down to trusted individuals. And the thing is, and then doctors are professionals that are open to it. So it goes back to surrounding yourself with experts in their field, creating an environment and a culture to where the best in their industry comes in, and they want to give and they want to share, and they have this blank canvas to play with because they don't have the restrictions and red tape from the regular medical field or wherever the case may be.
Okay.
But I think with that though is to where if I'm going, well, why do I feel this way, or why do I hurt this way? Right. And like we've literally seen things where like guys are like, well, stop lifting like this, do multi-directional movements, grab your band. Like we call them like some of the light workouts, and you're like, what's this going to do? And like we barely get it. We're like, I'm going to have muscle fatigue in about 2 seconds because I haven't been working out the right angles.
It's all like the stabilizers. And that's the conversation. We had our Warrior Wednesday webinar with Dave Bellis, and that's exactly what he went into is, hinging, squatting, pulling, pushing, all of the movements. But then you talk about prime movers, which is the big muscles, but then those secondary and tertiary where the job there is to stabilize. And if those aren't shored up, you've got all sorts of other imbalances.
That's right.
I think but as things move forward, and my I come from a medical family, and I've talked to a lot of people in the fields in all different areas. professional CEOs, all these kind of fun things. If you think about it, if we're going to go work on professional development, you have a great ability to be a phenomenal entrepreneur, but what if we worked on these other things over here first? Then you can handle the stresses that come with being an entrepreneur. You can handle the load that's going to come on emotionally with it. Because that's one thing, like with veterans and stuff, they'll be like, hey, I want to start a company. I'm like, cool. How do you manage your stress level right now? Because I'm a big advocate for it, but let's be realistic here. You don't have to go through anything. You are going to go through a lot starting your own business and running your own thing. You're going to have a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of stress. It's just the way it comes. But there's a lot of benefits and perks to that because it's yours. So how can we support and how can we heal the people that are served and are actually active? And then when they're getting out, because one thing we've been able to do is work with active duty, which then if we can be proactive, then you're ahead of the game. So when we get out, we're like, we're gone, right?
Yeah, totally.
Right.
And so that would be, and the thing is that's helping the units, it's helping the individuals. And when they get out, they understand how to utilize these resources a little more effectively.
It's hard to realize when you're in that's going to be worthy. I remember like, it's time to go to your, get out of the Army classes and
your taps and everything.
And like I'd go in as a senior officer and they'd be like, sir, you don't want to be here for this, do you? And I'd be like, no, I don't. Yeah, I can just sign out. Yeah, I'm gone. And it's like, dang, I should have stuck around and learned a little bit, but, and I think a lot of people do that. So it'd be great to have something that's, ahead of the game that people see is like, this is valuable stuff. This is connecting me to something real, or just making me feel better.
Well, and we're seeing changes significantly. And I mean, even we're still in contact with guys that are on operation right now. And it's like, and it has effect. It's just no different than what you guys have done. But then like we're the target audience and the performers, and it really comes down like a couple of them that I'm really close with, as we say, it's the mindset. At the end it doesn't mean they don't have depression, don't have anxiety and everything else. I have it, they have it. We talk about it very openly about it. Well, how can we manage it? What can we do different? I know when I eat this, I feel bad or I inflame. Well, when I inflame, then it triggers a compound effect where then I don't feel useful. I don't feel good. So then I feel inept. I'm not operational. So it has this like trickle effect, this compound. And so it does affect the mind. And that's where you treat the body, you can treat the mind. It's hard to treat the mind if you can't take care of the body. And that's why, what do they say? What's one of the number one things to help with depression?
Is exercise.
Yep.
Yeah, or outside.
No, it's like water and exercise. It's like a good bout of cardio. What do they say? It's like a little bit of Ritalin, a little bit of Prozac. Studies have shown.
Yeah. I mean,
it's because of the hormonal effect. And that's what I think people miss is it's more than just the basic exertion or training effect. And okay, well, I'm not looking to be a marathoner or a weightlifter or a bodybuilder. It's all of the hormonal aspects that the older I've gotten, the more it's just like I've made peace with the fact that I'm not going to perform at the level that I used to when I was a younger man. But for me, what I get more out of it is just the cognitive clarity. And the emotional. I feel good, the clarity of thought, clarity is a big thing. Mood and affect. I'm just such a better person after a good workout.
Well, and just like you said, when you get old, it's going to make you hurt. And that was me. I was hurting. I couldn't move. And I thought it was the end of my, so I'm grumpy and upset. And it's not too late. You can change this shit. This stuff.
100%. I drank a lot before and everything, and I was basically a functioning alcoholic before. But I can have a cocktail or whatever in control. But the thing is, it was inflaming the crap out of me.
Right.
I mean,
you're more attuned to the effects, almost the medicinal effects. That quite frankly that food has, and that's a way of looking at it.
Yeah.
So hey, man, in closing, so your new endeavor. It's a work in progress. Yeah, you're trying to bring together the greatest minds in sports and physiology and everything.
Medicine,
just trying to optimize human performance. Is there anything more you want to say to the audience? Like, hey, be on the lookout.
Yeah, it's going to be I don't do things small. So you will get notified this year for sure.
All right, good.
We'll go out strong, but honestly, we're destined to serve. We'll continue to serve. And I think it's important that we push ourselves and personally and our brothers and all of the sisters around to help us all to be better and move forward and live life,
Dude, I'm looking forward to it. I want to be
too.
a part of it, man.
Yes,
Appreciate
absolutely,
you.
I want people to get out
Absolutely.
there and get that help, and
Oh yeah.
I appreciate you coming out another modality.
That's right.
We'll be doing stuff together too. So
From
it'll be
healing
good.
to high performance, baby.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Appreciate everyone.
Thank you.
Hi, Matt Hastings here, sending a thank you for watching this episode of the Warriors Ascent podcast. We strive to build a community of warriors made up of our nation's veterans and first responders. And to reach as many of those in need as possible, we need your help. Please just smash that like button and comment or share our content. Warriors Ascent is a Kansas City-based nonprofit that aids veterans and first responders with PTS. I went through this effective program and want those that are struggling to find what I found. Check us out on our website at warriorsascent.org.